Alright, so here we are. It's done, and is this PC befitting of a fledgling tech YouTuber? You can tell me down in the comments. Build process, difficulty, what we talking? Probably a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Definitely harder than your average PC, but I've certainly had some builds that are much more challenging than this as well. You know, on that scale, we're thinking of, you know, a standard mid-tower being somewhere between a 3 and a 4 in difficulty, and something like a hardline custom loop liquid cooling PC being closer to that 10 out of 10. With an ITX system like this, you really do have to pick your parts very carefully. It's not like a standard mid-tower where you can just pick and choose whichever parts that should fit in any standard PC. You do have to choose exact parts that are going to fit. So that's why I went with this particular cooler. It's the biggest one that's going to fit with this arrangement. It's why I picked the Pro Art 4080, because it has that length that's going to fit inside and it's not as thick, which means I can get the bigger CPU cooler on there. Really enjoying the design of this. I really like this wooden panel across the bottom. It gives it a very sharp look. It's got sort of a matte powder coated kind of exterior, which looks really nice, but it is quite susceptible to getting what looks like scratches, but it's actually just residue on it. Like if I rub my fingers across here, even there you can see that there's dust now on the front here, which you need to use a microfiber cloth to actually clean off all the time, which can be quite frustrating for some people. I like the gull wing doors on this. It's pretty fancy. It's not actually that functional, because how often do you need to open your PC, really? Let's be honest, not very often, but it's a cool design feature. One thing that I noticed in this case that actually a lot of other reviewers, it didn't seem to have the same problem, was that there is a mount for a 120mm fan in the bottom here, and I did pick up a Noctua fan to go in there, but sadly with all the cables off this power supply, it wasn't able to fit. Now I don't know if it's because I have the 1000 watt power supply in there that's slightly larger maybe, but I definitely couldn't get a fan to fit underneath there whatsoever. I was going to do a bit of testing to see whether intake or exhaust would be better, but it's a moot point now because it doesn't fit. This case costs about £130 to £145 here in the UK, and that's including all the taxes. And I think for that money, it is really expensive. I suppose you're paying a lot for the R&D and tooling and things like that, but it is quite expensive. If I wasn't able to get the VAT back through our business, I don't know if I would pick this particular case up myself and maybe go for something a bit more modest. I'm pretty happy with the build quality overall. I think the metals are high quality. This is solid wood finish on the front. The only real issue is there is a slight panel gap on the back of the PC, as I'll show you in the clip on screen. But actually that's kind of unavoidable based on the design of this case, because it has a sliding spine that goes back and forth. So I think that's one of those things you're just going to have to put up with. There's also no filtration if you do put a 120mm fan on the bottom, so that's something to think about as well. That said, most people, if you're going to put a fan in this, it's going to be exhaust, because that's going to be better for your temperatures overall, except if you are using a cooler like this Noctua one that I've got that pushes air out of the case, you might want it set as intake, but it's a moot point really. Like I said, it's not fitting inside this case. So that's the build and case, but how does it perform? I don't know, because I haven't done it yet. I'm recording this bit before I actually test it. So why don't we go and test it, and then I'll join you again afterwards to let you know how it went. Okay guys, here we are. Don't really see this view very much anymore. I used to do videos here all the time, but I'm at my desk setup now, which is probably why the audio sounds better. But what about the PC? That's what you want to hear about. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's actually quieter than my liquid cooled system before, because it hasn't got any case fans. I've got everything undervolted and power limited, so that it's not going to get loud and it's not going to get particularly hot. I've noticed my room doesn't get as hot when I'm doing gaming sessions, and it looks much more minimal and zen on the desk, and that's something that I'm really enjoying. I'm really happy with the performance as well. I had a 3090 system with a 5950X before, and I found that the DaVinci Resolve experience is basically about the same, and the gaming performance is actually a decent chunk better as well. Like in Apex Legends now 1440p high settings, I can very realistically every single time hit that 240 FPS that my monitor runs at. That's a really nice experience. And when it's playing lighter games, it's just chilling at like 130 watts, which means the room doesn't get absolutely boiling, which in summer is much more important. So Would I recommend somebody go to ITX? Absolutely, if that's what you want. But remember, there's going to be compromises. So you're going to be spending more money for the components, for starters. It's going to be a bit more fiddly, and you're going to have to do a bit more research before you actually put your PC together to ensure that you're doing the right thing. But the result afterwards is absolutely brilliant. And as someone that doesn't want very much RGB on their setup anymore, this is a much more minimalist and zen vibe. So overall, my experience in the Terra has actually been really positive. I can't really complain about it at all. The only thing that's a problem really is the price. So I'm going to leave it there. I want you to leave your thoughts down in the comments below, particularly if you've used the Terra before. Let me know how you got on with building it. Anyway, see you later.